Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Braden Cobb, and today we got Seth Williams on the show. A gentleman doesn't need any introduction. He has built a hugely valuable community, the REtipster community. His website's REtipster.com. I was talking with Seth before the show. If you are into land flipping or real estate in general, that website has so many phenomenal tools that I've paid tens of thousands of dollars to get access to in some of my other mastermind communities, and he gives them away for free on his website. We're going to be talking about land today. We're going to be talking a little bit about development. He's built self-storage facilities, and he has literally, I can't remember what the exact audience was, but he's got hundreds of thousands of followers in this specific niche online. His YouTube channel is one of the biggest in the industry. Seth, welcome to the show.
Hey, Brandon, thanks for having me. It's great to be here. Appreciate the nice introduction.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's not often that you've come across a guest that has been successful in multiple areas, right? A lot of people tend to hyper focus on one thing, build it and grow it. So I'm interested to learn more about how you're able to successfully do multiple things because just the YouTube channel in and of itself, the amount of subscribers that you have, and it's not just the amount of subscribers, but the amount of engagement that you have is very, very impressive. So before we get there and go into all this fun stuff, for those that don't know you, what's your story?
Yeah, totally. Well, for me, it started back when I was in college. I hadn't quite graduated yet, and I came to this realization that I didn't actually want a job. Like all these people around me were, training to get employed somewhere, and that's really what college does for you. Uh, but there wasn't really a job that I wanted to do, and so at the time, I discovered Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the way that so many of us do, and so many of us get started. And I started realizing there are other ways to do this. Like you don't actually have to get a W-2 and work till you're 60 and then retire. And but the problem was Rich Dad Poor Dad doesn't really spell out anything specific about real estate that you're supposed to do. It just kind of throws it out there as a general concept. So I just kind of, let loose trying to figure out how to buy houses to flip or buy for rental properties. I didn't know what I was doing. I spent hundreds of hours looking for listed houses on the MLS, and the numbers would never even work, like not even close. And I just got really frustrated, and I was like, how do people do this? Like, I know somebody's succeeding at this. Like, what am I doing wrong here? And it wasn't until 2008 when I discovered two very important things that made it all come together. One of them was something called the delinquent tax list. So it's a list of properties that every county has. They don't always, fork it over to you when you ask, but everybody has it. And it's just a list of properties that are currently past due on their property taxes. They have not been seized yet by the county, but if they don't pay off their property taxes soon, they will. And, this list is really important because a lot of these people, if they don't pay out these taxes soon, they're going to lose everything. And it's a really pivotal moment when you can reach out to them and say, hey, I see you own this property. And, if you want to sell it, I'll give you a cash offer right now. And the truth is, if they don't either pay off their taxes or sell their property to you, they're going to get nothing. So it's just a very compelling proposition when you find people in that situation. So that was the first thing, but also this concept of investing in land. And like most people, when I first heard about land, I was just like, what? Like, why would I do that? That makes no sense. There's no house, there's no income. But it's not just the fact that we're buying land, it's the fact that we're buying land for cheap, like a very, very low discounted price. And when you buy anything at a deeply discounted price, it's not that hard to turn around and resell that thing at a markup and make money on it. And that was essentially what I did. I used the delinquent tax list to find owners of vacant land, and I started sending them postcards and asked them to call me back if they wanted to sell their property. I got plenty of calls back, and I eventually started making cash offers. And when I was getting started, I was buying really, really cheap stuff. And this is how a lot of land flippers get started. When I say cheap, I mean there might be like a lot that's worth $3,000 and I could buy it for $500 cash, that kind of thing. So it didn't require a loan. I could just use the money in my own bank account. Super simple. Doesn't take long to flip that kind of thing. And eventually I started graduating to bigger types of properties in other states beyond the one that I lived in. And fast forward 15 plus years, and here I am. It's been an awesome business. And through the land business, I've also started REtipster.com, which is basically just a huge library of lessons that I've learned and information that I've gathered over the years. And I just give it out there for free.
So you've been doing this for 15 years. Did I get that right? Since 2008?
Yeah, what is the math? Well, so my first campaign I sent in 2009. So
Okay.
I think that's like 16 years, just about. At least coming up
Now,
on.
that's probably the worst time to get started in real estate, depending on who you ask. Some people argue the best time because everything was on hard mode,
Yeah,
right? What was it like getting started during that time period?
man,
Because
it
I mean,
was.
the whole financial system froze up, right? Like nobody was buying anything.
Yeah, depending on who you were and what position you were in, it could have been either a horrendous bloodbath, terrible situation, or me, I had no past sins to pay for. I mean, I was just starting from nothing. I didn't even know what normal was. This is what I'm seeing in the market. So, um, in a lot of ways, it was an amazing time to start because, you know, stuff wasn't selling and you could make just obscenely low offers and people would say yes to it. It was crazy. Now, it took a little bit of time to sell stuff, but when you buy something at 10 or 20% of market value, which you could do back then, uh, it's okay if you got to wait a little bit. You don't have any loan payments to make. Like it's not that big of an ask to just sit on it for a little bit. Or you can start getting creative and offering seller financing to make it easier for people to buy. And honestly, in a lot of ways, like it kind of messed me up because when I started back then, like even looking at houses, like a house is supposed to cost $50,000. That is a normal price for a house. At least that's what I saw in my market. And nowadays, that same house could be selling for $200,000 or $300,000. So, if anything, I think it's been hard for me to adjust as the years go on, and figure out what the new normal is. Like, no, houses are actually worth more now. People are paying a
Yeah.
lot more. So, yeah, it depends how you look at it.
So you start on the MLS, notice nothing was penciling for the rentals, but then when did you get into the land game? Like what year was that and how did you get involved? And maybe give some context because land can mean a lot of different things.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was 2009 was really when I started in land, and land was the first thing that I ever really succeeded at. In the prior couple of years before that, I had worked with a couple different agents, made dozens of offers on houses that were listed. Um, I think I got like maybe one of them accepted, and after it got accepted, I realized, oh, that was a terrible offer. Never should have done that. So just a lot of spinning wheels and getting nowhere, wasting a lot of my time, wasting a lot of other people's time. It just was not good. But I just kept going because I didn't know what else to do. And it wasn't until I figured out the better strategy with the combination of land and the delinquent tax list, and just like how you start the conversation with these people, how you send mail to them, what do you say, what do you tell them to do, how do you formulate offers, all this stuff. Um, and yeah, so I mean, I had certainly tried to do houses, but I just got nowhere with it. I wasn't very good at it.
Okay. So how, the land thing popped up. What does that business look like? Because there's land development, there's
Yeah,
land entitlement, there's land flipping, there's buying parcels that are kind of out in the middle of nowhere that people like to go and camp on.
sure.
There's a lot of different land strategies. What was yours? And are you
Yeah,
still doing it to this day?
yeah. So yeah, it's a great question because back when I started this, and really, up until a few years ago, there kind of was one standard land flipping business model that everybody followed and didn't deviate much from it. But in the past few years, it's changed quite a bit. There's lots of different directions people have started going. So that original model was essentially, you find smaller vacant residential lots. So residential specifically, not commercial, not industrial, not agricultural. And you look about, a 1 to 3 hour drive radius outside of a big metropolitan area. So think of any big city, and you don't buy it in the city. You go out a little ways and buy it in those rural areas. You don't want to go too far beyond 3 hours away because that's a little bit too remote. The idea is to buy land that people in that city can use as sort of like their home away from home. If they wanted to build a second house or something, it's got to be accessible enough. And, with these vacant residential lots, part of the reason that you can buy them at big discounts is because they're not making money for the owner. They're just costing them property taxes. And also because they're vacant residential lots, in pretty much every situation, that owner does not have a loan on it because most banks are not going to give a loan to buy a vacant lot unless you improve it. But if you just want to buy a vacant lot and do nothing to it, it's just going to be a lot harder for a bank to loan you money on that. So that was like the typical buy box. And in terms of like how much to offer, kind of depends on what the market value of that is. On the higher end, you know, if it was worth 50 grand or higher, your offer price might be anywhere from 40 to 55% of market value, possibly higher if you have a more creative strategy. But on the super cheap stuff, your offer would be more around that 20 to 30% of market value range. And the reason it changes as you get more expensive is because as the price goes up, you're not as concerned about the ROI percentage anymore. You're more just concerned about how many dollars am I making from this?
Right.
So that was kind of like the standard original model. But nowadays, mainly because there's more competition in land than there used to be, people are having a harder time buying land and doing nothing and then selling it quickly. So what people are doing is they're able to offer higher prices because they will subdivide the property, or they might develop the property, or they might just get entitlements, kind of like what you do, Brandon, where they, you know, they get the permission to do it, but they don't actually do the work themselves. They sell it to a developer and then they do it. So, you know, there's different models like that. Or you could even do what I did, where I bought land a couple of years ago and actually built a self-storage facility on it. And in my mind, when you get to that level, it's not even really land investing anymore. It's more of like development. Like that's kind of how I see it. And there's probably even other ways too. Like a lot of people will buy with the intent to assign the contract instead of taking title to it, or buy to double close it. And in doing that, they can basically offer more because they're not putting a lot of their money on the line for an extended period of time. So, yeah.
Now, makes a lot of sense. So you're finding parcels that are within in an hour, 2 hours of like a downtown core, kind of home away from home. These are usually people, I'm assuming they're paying cash because you mentioned like the bank financing thing, you know, hard to do that with a lot that you're not getting approvals on. And it's kind of their own little getaway. So the
Yeah.
target avatar are, you know, people that have the liquidity to pay cash and they're just looking for kind of a getaway from their house. Is that right?
Yep, exactly.
And what did your business look like when you started in, 2009 from nothing to, fast forward like 5 years, it's 2014 now.
Yeah.
How many lots were you flipping? What's your revenues look like? And I'm assuming you were just focused on land flipping, or maybe there were some houses or something else sprinkled in there.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, land flipping has always been a part-time thing. It's never been the sole thing that I spent all of my time doing. And doing it on a part-time basis, it's very achievable to get a six-figure net income from that. And you could do like, you know, dozens of smaller deals, or you could do like 3 or 5 bigger deals per year. So I've been continuing to do that all these years, although this year specifically, this actually started in late 2024, I made kind of a strategic decision to get into land funding, which basically just means somebody else goes out and finds the land deal. So they do the legwork of sending mail or texting or whatever marketing they're doing to find a deal, but they don't have the money for it because it's a more expensive property and they just don't have that much cash. And this is a problem with pretty much every land investor is eventually they run out of liquidity and they have to find other sources to fund these deals. So what I'll do is I'll step in and I'll evaluate the deal. I'll make sure it's something that I would have bought and I fund the whole thing. And that's basically just means that that land investor has very little financial risk in the deal because, you know, the only money they spent was the money to market for it and find it. And I kind of shoulder all the risk. And then when the thing sells, we'll figure out some way to split the profits on that, either a 50-50 split or a 70-30 split. Kind of depends on who's doing what in the deal. But the benefit of being a funder like that is I don't have to spend nearly as much time finding the deals. And it's one of the more annoying parts of the business. And just in terms of like talking to motivated sellers and trying to evaluate properties and all this stuff, a lot of time goes into that. And if you have no money, then what else are you going to do? I mean, that's how you got to find the deals. But once you do have money, it's a lot easier to leverage that and sort of leverage the time of other land operators who find the deals. So,
When did you start that? Was that 2014 that you started doing the lending portion of it?
so it was actually fairly recently. I think my
Oh, okay.
first funded deal was 2024. And to be honest, like it took me longer than I should have to get into that. It's for years I watched other people from the sidelines doing this. And
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't do it. I was just like, I don't know if I was worried about a deal going south or having to partner with somebody of this capacity, but I had seen enough people doing it and realized like, man, this is just kind of a no-brainer way to make money
Yeah.
from land using more of your money, but less of your time.
Especially because you understand the risks. You've done so many deals, you know how to underwrite them. So in
Yeah.
2014, where you weren't doing land full time, you said this was a part-time gig. What were you doing? How were you spending the rest of your time?
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess for the first I forget how many years it was, but for the first X number of years, I was working a full-time day job in the banking industry and basically running my land business on my nights and weekends. And that was one of the cool things, at least kind of how it worked back then when direct mail was the sole way that you would find deals. It's fairly easy to leverage your time in that way because you can set it up so that only the right people call, and they at the time we would have them listen to a voicemail greeting and leave you a voicemail. I don't do it that way anymore because it's more competitive, but it was a way to just leverage my time essentially. And in early 2016 was when I pulled the plug on that day job, and I've been doing both land flipping and REtipster since then. So
Okay, so 2016 was the big moment where you're able to leave the W-2 and go full time. So what did that look like? What made you comfortable to quit your job and go full time? Like how much money was your business spitting off, and what was the vision at the time? What were
yeah,
you trying to get to?
yeah, that's a good question. I'm trying to remember what the numbers were.
Yeah, hey, go back 10 years real quick and tell me the exact revenue.
Yeah, well, I mean, some of it's pretty clear in my mind because it was a huge high point in life and kind of a scary point, like a very emotional point where I had dreamed for years about leaving my job. I didn't even know if I could do it, and I finally got to the point where it was a no-brainer, and my job was a huge bottleneck in my life, getting in the way of everything else. Um, and I remember my wife and I, we sat down. My wife is a CPA by trade, and we put together a spreadsheet to figure out like what is our what we called the apocalypse budget. Like if everything just fell apart, if every business thing I did just stopped making any money, like what is the minimum we need just to like stay alive, keep food on the table, keep the lights on, all that stuff. We found out it was like actually not that much. I think it was like 30 grand or something like that a year. And I mean, that was be kind of a miserable life, but like at least we wouldn't die. And after doing that, it made me realize, like, man, I probably could have quit this a long time ago. And I think my business was making like well over 100 grand between land and REtipster when I pulled the plug. And within months after that, I mean, both of them just kind of hockey stick went in the up direction because like I had so much more time to do that all day long now
Yeah,
instead of just in my
right.
spare time.
Okay, so you'd already had the REtipster built at this point
Yeah.
when you'd quit. Okay, so let's go back a little bit. You started in 2008, rentals not working, MLS, garbage market or great market. You were
Yeah.
finding really good deals. You got into land and you scaled that land business up, you know, while working full-time job in the banking industry to 2016, then you quit. When did REtipster come about and why was it formed?
Yeah. So that happened in late 2012. And it's kind of funny. The only reason I did that was because I had discovered another blog at the time called smartpassiveincome.com by Pat Flynn, still operates to this day. It has nothing to do with real estate, but he was just putting information out there that was like very, very good and like worth paying money for, but it was free. He was just putting it all out there for free. And he also would list these income reports on his blog where he talked about how much money his blog was making him and where he was making it from. And it was the craziest thing because he was making a ton of money from his blog, even though like I didn't feel like he was ever selling anything. It was just a fascinating business model. And I saw what he was doing as kind of his personality. He's not like a super flashy, salesy guy. And I thought, I'm not really either. I can kind of see myself in him a lot. I bet I could do that, but for the things that I know about real estate and land, where like I just put information out there and people start following, and eventually there's ways to monetize that, but there's no like hard sell. And it worked. I mean, it took about a year or so before I made the first dollar from anything on REtipster. But
Mhm.
after I had done my first blog post, I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. Like it was really fun to organize these ideas and the information I knew was in my head, but just make it more actionable and just put it on the internet. And, you know, like anything, it took a while to take off, but eventually it did. And it's been
Wow.
awesome business.
2012. So why did you form it? What was the motivation?
Yeah, you know, I didn't really know. I didn't have like a super solid direction in mind. It's not like, okay, by 18 months, we will have $500,000 of revenue from REtipster. It was more just like, I'm just going to do this thing. Like, first of all, I know we can do it. Second of all, it's really fun for me. Like, I would almost do this for free. It's just a lot of fun to do it. And also, like, I knew that through that medium, I could sell stuff without really having to sell anything. Like, all I do is just like show people what works for me. That's pretty much it. And sometimes there's no way to monetize it. Other times there are ways to point people to a resource that I used with an affiliate link or something like that. I used to sell courses and stuff. Courses, I still have courses for sale, but they don't really sell that well, frankly, anymore. But it's just, yeah, it's a way that I can add value to the world and kind of have a body of work that I'm proud of. So,
So how did you first monetize REtipster, and how is that different, and what does it look like today?
yeah, good question. So, one of the cool things about having a big audience is that there's like hundreds of ways you can do it. And no single way accounts for like the bulk of your income. It's more like, yeah, we make 3% of our income over here from this thing, and then 4% of our income from over there. So it's kind of like all over the place. But the first thing I ever did to make money was I took the postcard templates that I used to find my first land deals, and I sold my templates, like the exact wording that I used. You could just download a Word document and use it yourself. And I put it on there for $7. Buy these things for $7. And the first day somebody bought it, and I was like, whoa, I can't believe that just worked. Like somebody actually paid me
Seven
for that. That's
dollars.
crazy.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, as that started to sell over and over and over again, I started increasing the price to $19 and then $29 and then $49 and then $97. And the thing kept selling. It was the weirdest thing. And when you think about it, like proven ad copy that gets results is actually worth a lot. Like you don't
A
have
lot
to
of
like
money. Yeah.
think of it yourself. Like it just works. So, yes, but anyway, so that was kind of the initial phases of monetizing REtipster. Then we made a handful of courses, and those used to sell really well. They don't sell that well anymore. Interestingly, I think the stuff that probably gets monetized the best. So now REtipster is kind of morphed into more of a media company in that there are different companies out there that will pay for like podcast ads, or you know, if I think a company is doing a really good job and has a good product or service, like I can reach out to them and say, hey, I'm going to do a review on you, and you can pay me to do that, that kind of thing. You know, with the big disclaimer being like, if I don't like something, I can say that. And a lot of them are just happy to get the exposure they wouldn't have otherwise had. So it's a lot of that kind of thing. I mean, we make a little bit of money on YouTube ads and stuff like that. Lots of other little trickles of income from affiliate links and that sort of thing. So yeah, and it's been interesting because like the internet has changed a lot and it's continuing to change. And I
Oh,
don't,
that's completely different than 2012. I think YouTube was just getting started.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, literally just getting started is completely different. Okay, so in 2016, REtipster had been about 4 years old.
Yep.
So you're monetizing some stuff with, it sounds like that postcard tip. That's super cool. I love that story. You've got your land flipping business. So what happens from 2016 to 2020?
So from there, let's see, it was kind of just a matter of trying to build up more helpful resources, you know, a bigger video library on YouTube, that kind of thing. Um, and to be honest, like I didn't have a super clear direction. I'm actually a terrible visionary of knowing where things need to go. I'm a better, I hate to say this, I kind of hate this about myself, but I make a really good employee. Like If I figure out
Yeah.
what works, I'll just keep doing that over and over and over again and doing better and better. Um, but it was actually around 2020 when I started realizing, like, what do I actually want? Like, what is the end goal? Like, I don't necessarily want to flip land forever. I don't necessarily want to run REtipster forever. I mean, it's fun, but what if the day comes when I just kind of burn out and get tired of this? I don't want to have to keep doing this stuff. And that was when I decided to get into the self-storage business. And I built my first self-storage facility starting in 2021 and opened that up in 2023. And it's mostly stabilized and occupied now. And now I'm trying to find facility number 2. So, yeah.
Okay. Are you still doing the land flipping thing, or is it just the lending on the land right
It's
now?
pretty much just funding in 2025. That might change next year, but that's kind of what I've been focusing on for land this year.
Yeah, no, the lending portion is just, it's fantastic for those that have the ability to go and raise the money. How did you go and raise the money? Are you using your own funds to just, fund these deals?
At this point, I'm just using my own funds for it. So I
Okay.
actually, that's a good point though. I mean, I know other people, other land funders specifically, who use other people's money to do it. And like, that's when you can make a ton of money. Like if you want this to be like your main thing, like it's kind of a lot to juggle and you got to build up trust and all this stuff. And it can be a little bit stressful sometimes, but yeah, I mean, I know a few funders who are killing it doing that, but my funding has just been using my own cash reserves.
Okay, so your own funds from it. And then what do you feel has been so instrumental to the footprint you've been able to build in the digital media space? I mean, you're I don't know anybody out there when it comes to land that has a bigger audience than you. Like you're the number one guy, and if there's another number one guy, I have not seen him. I have not found him. Like, what do you feel like has been the biggest factors that have created the success with your REtipster YouTube channel, the community, and everything else?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's definitely not because I'm like the best land investor out there. I mean, I'm kind of like anybody else. I think the difference is like um, a lot of people I know in land investing and really any business are they have a hunter mentality, meaning they really like the thrill of the chase, chasing the deal, making the sale, like just the adrenaline that comes with that. And I'm actually different. I'm more of a farmer mentality where I don't enjoy the thrill of the chase. I'd rather just do things slowly and predictably and know what tomorrow is going to look like. And I think that attribute alone has given me a lot of staying power because hunters would have gotten really bored of this a long time ago. Like they would move on. It's not giving them the thrill that they're wanting. Whereas, like, I'm not really looking for the thrill. I'm just trying to be helpful and use the information I have and see other lives change from it. And I think part of it is just the staying power of that, like just being around for as long as I have been. I don't, other people were around before I was, but they weren't really going at it the way that I was. Like they were out
Mm-hmm.
trying to be like a guru type thing. That was never really my goal. I was just trying to put helpful stuff out there. And I feel like that's it's kind of unusual. A lot of people have some kind of angle or some kind of bias or, a bait and switch thing where they say they give you something and they don't. Whereas like I'm kind of the opposite. Like I want you to come into my ecosystem and be blown away and get way more than you thought you were going to. And
Yeah.
I guess it's worked over time.
So I guess today, how do you monetize um the RE tipster community? You've got the YouTube channel, you've got I believe there's a Facebook group. I think there's also something else, some other community. I mean, it seems like a lot of things to juggle and manage, like a
Yeah.
lot of time and effort. And that's great that you're helping and impacting people, but if it's not self-sustainable, if it's not making money, then it's not going to last, or even worse, it's not going to grow, which is
Yeah.
the goal of the founder: impact as many people as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. You're asking just how do I like what are
Yeah,
all the
you
pieces?
mentioned you mentioned the courses aren't selling. There's a little bit of YouTube like ad revenue. Like I
Yeah.
don't think you have like a mastermind program. That's like typically what a lot of people have. Like how are you making it sustain itself?
Sure. Yeah, totally. But you're right. I mean, it's certainly changed over the years. That's probably been my biggest challenge. I feel like early 2024 is when I started to see it really change a lot. And it's kind of been this weird transition phase of trying to redirect where money is coming from. And like I said, we've got a media kit, for example, which is basically just every time some stranger emails me saying, "Hey, Seth, can you do an affiliate promotion for our thing?" Which I probably get like 10 of these emails every day. I reply to them with our media kit, and it's basically just a menu of different ways that they can pay me to talk about them if they want me to do it, and if they're okay with me being honest about that. And a lot of people aren't interested because they just wanted free advertising
They
from
would have
me.
free after, yeah.
Yeah, but some people are, and they're happy to pay. So I mean, that's one way I've been doing it. I've also started recently Stride CRM, which is a CRM software for land investors. And it's actually a totally different business. It's separate from REtipster, but it's basically just another way to diversify where income is coming from. And a CRM software is a very sticky type of software. Like people need it for their business, and it makes a big difference.
Huge.
Yeah, yeah. So that's another thing. There's also another software called the Land Portal, where I'm a partial, teeny tiny equity partner with them to try to, basically just promote that to the world and make people aware of where they can get their data for land deals and that kind of thing. Yeah, and we've done other like guided courses and that kind of thing. I taught a couple courses on AI last year. So yeah, just kind of figuring out new ways to monetize the audience that's there.
Yeah, I love it. You built an audience and you are looking at what the needs are of the customer base essentially and just building value around that. What was the need in the CRM space that you saw was lacking in the current CRMs and remind me, what's the name of it?
It's called Stride, Stride
Stride.
CRM.co. Yeah.
So what were the needs that Stride was able to meet that the other CRM systems in the market couldn't?
Yeah. The interesting thing about CRMs is that everybody kind of has this different idea in their mind about what it should do, and they kind of want a different thing from it. And ours can certainly do a lot of it. I think that was the first light bulb moment for me, was that I was looking at probably like a dozen different subscriptions I was paying for like my phone, and then direct mail, and then email marketing, and then social media, and this and that, and on and on. I was just like, man, this is driving me crazy. And Stride can do all of it. It basically helped me wipe out over $4,000 a year of subscriptions I was paying for other stuff. And it just centralizes it all into one app. So like it's all there. And not only is it cheaper, but like it's all interconnected. So like I don't have to open up 10 different windows all the time. Like it's all just right there. And I can also get a mobile app on my phone where it's right there as well. So it definitely takes some time to learn, which I think is true for any CRM. But once you get there and once you start seeing what it can do, it's pretty amazing. Just
Wow.
how much, also like a lot of automations and stuff are built into it as well, which is becoming a much more important thing for land investors with follow up. Like if you get a motivated seller who reaches out to you, like if they don't say yes right then, like keep following up, like call them back, like don't just let the thing die. Some people probably make a third of their revenue just from deals that they followed up on. Whereas if they didn't do that, they would have lost it. And
Yeah.
so it helps you automate a lot of that stuff as well.
The money's made in the follow up, and I don't care what industry you're in. It's kind of funny. I was looking at some article back when I was flipping houses because we were I think land flipping, house flipping is a very similar business. It's
Yeah.
probably the same, except the item you're flipping changes.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I saw on your website, like I was like, oh my gosh, like I recognize CallRail and Pat Live and
Yeah.
all the yellow letters and all these resources. I was doing the same thing flipping houses, but you build this marketing machine, right? And you've got to have everything dialed in. Otherwise, all that money that you're spending to make that phone ring, if no one's answering it and you're not able to get the information and qualify them and set the appointment and have the sales
Yeah.
rep reach out and verify the appointment and be able to track them through the system and follow up with that seller once you've gone to their house and made the offer and they have not accepted your offer or made the offer on the land on the phone or whatever and they have it, like it takes 9 times on average. I just 9 times for some reason stuck in my head. in order to have a deal done. And most people stop at like, a follow-up call or two. It's like, it's just sales 101.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And I think the luxury land investors used to have, I think it's still easier than houses, but the gap is narrowing a bit. With land, like when I started, there was zero competition. Like you could make an offer to somebody and like there was nobody waiting behind you. If they didn't sell it to you, that's it. Whereas now, depending on the market, like there could be like 10 other people lining up behind you. So like you better
Really?
impress them or like at the very least follow up, like make sure they know that your offer's still on the table, that kind of thing.
Wow. Yeah, I remember the very first appointment that I went on. I guess it was a hot market because the lady had a stack of like 12 other mailers
Yeah.
from competition just sitting there. Luckily, she let me go through them and I got to see what my competition was sitting. I was like, oh my God, gold mine. I took pictures of it all. And I
Yeah.
looked at my letter compared to theirs and I was like, oh my gosh, like literally mine was like absolutely terrible. It was like the handwritten font. Like I did my
Yeah.
handwriting and then it copied it. And it was maybe why she called me because it looked so ridiculous. I don't know. It stood out. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Seth, with all the success that you've had, what's next for you?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think my preferred future is to get more into the self-storage world and or some other type of commercial asset, whether it's owning triple net lease buildings or something like that, where there's a lot more depreciation write-offs than what land offers. And it's sources of income that are pretty permanent as long as you buy a good property and manage what needs to be managed. So I'm trying to go more in that direction. And I kind of think when you look at land flipping specifically, like that business model, I kind of think every land flipper should be trying to work themselves out of the land business because it's a hamster wheel that pays really well, but it's still a hamster wheel. And unless you're really confident that you want to do that until the end, like give yourself a couple different exits, figure out something else. Like don't just take that money and pile it back, back in the land business. Like siphon some of it off and buy forever sources of income. And I think it's hard for land investors to do that because they see the ROI they can make on land. And it's like, well, I can't get that with self-storage or whatever. And
Yeah.
it's true, but like, do you want to work forever? Like, if not, like figure something else out as you're building this, cash flow machine in land.
Yep. I love it. Great words of advice and wisdom. Seth, if people want to get in touch with you, learn more about REtipster, where can they go?
So you could go to REtipster.com. That's kind of the home base for everything. Or if you're anywhere on social media, anywhere, just search for REtipster and you'll find me there.
Awesome. We'll make sure that gets posted in the show notes. Seth, it's been a pleasure having you on.
You bet. Thanks, Brandon.